Education is one, healthcare is another. Because healthcare is what everybody needs, especially when you start getting to my age as it is. Not to say I'm the oldest person here. I see some candidates that can beat me to it. But healthcare is extremely important and is way more important when you can't afford it. So how do we get the likes of UBA, who through their foundation is doing quite a lot to continue to help? Because yes, we do well, then we do good. Then to fund aspirations, I think one of the biggest, most catalytic thing you can do is to fund the right person's aspiration. Because the impact and the multiplier effect of it is quite enormous. I wouldn't want to dwell too much on it, but imagine someone that you invested 1 million naira in 15 years ago that has been able to create a company that employs 1,000 people easily and has impact in multiple sectors of the economy. Imagine how doing that on a sustainable and a replicated basis can impact your society. One area that most people don't talk a lot about is culture and funding culture. I think the mindset of funding culture is quite important. First, from the corporate standpoint, we've documented how culture is very relevant to the success of a business. But I'm not sure we've done quite a lot in documenting how culture, people's culture, their traditional culture, aids to how successful or otherwise that they become ultimately. And when you say the Igbos are celebrated because of their entrepreneurial mindset, the reality is that the only reason why they have that advantage is because they have a culture that supports it and a culture that fosters it. So, how do you spend the money you've made from enterprise to reinforce culture in your community that would help guarantee prosperity for your people and a good sense of living? The last bit is worldview and belief systems. Now, these are things that I think that we should, post making all the money that we aspire to make, that we should look to finding a way to use it to impact our society, to give back to the society, and to continue to strengthen the bond of how we exist. Because, like I said in the beginning, wealth without impact, in my view, is not that great. But if you're able to generate wealth and positively impact your society, you can't do all, but you can do your own bit and hope that people will emulate you and it can be replicated at scale. As a closing remark, I would want to encourage this kind of dialogues, especially when it attracts big guns like the people in the front row, because this kind of interactions would help you build the requisite confidence and boldness that you need to prosper in life. But it also will give you the relationships if you utilize them. Because the people here can give you your first job in life, they can give you your first capital in your enterprise endeavor, and they can also advise you and push you in the right direction. And so, on a consistent basis, I would encourage that sessions like this, interactions like this be fostered. And that's why VFD would support your department with 5 million naira so that the next one you do will be bigger, will be more impactful, and ultimately would lead everyone in the right direction for a better life in future. Thank you very much.
We thank the CEO of VFD. Before I say VDM, you will agree with me that he has actually laid the foundation in discussing the theme from vision to legacy, inspiring Africa's next generation of responsible business leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please, can we, one more time, appreciate that effort? While this presentation lasted, one of our special guests who had earlier recognized stepped into the room. And that is no other than the Secretary to the Government of Anambra State. Please make welcome Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake. At this point, I'd like to bring back the moderator to the microphone. Thank you.
This music you're about to listen.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. So, ladies and gentlemen, after hearing Mr. Nonso speak, honestly, I've been inspired to go and take JAMB again and do one of these finance courses. I think I've got the new calling in finances from today. I got two major things from what Mr. Nonso said. One is that knowledge of your markets is as important as knowledge of your product. And it's equally important to be able to identify and build a team that can execute your ideas. And that fundamental point I got is that when you have made wealth, it is good to impact and develop your society, apart from flaunting your wealth on social media. To that extent, I think I would not be amazed if I say that accountancy department, from what is happening today, appears to be the wealthiest department in all the universities in Nigeria. Because their symposium today appears to be impacting the education side, particularly in the university. Please, can we have a round of applause for accountancy department? Ladies and gentlemen, may we also recognize Professor Patrick Ebunike, Professor Ima Okoye, Professor Chinedu Onyeizube, and Professor Chukwuemeka A.F. Okoye. As Mr. Peters rightly pointed out, while Mr. Nonso was giving his wonderful presentation, you know, we told you we have major power players in the finance industry here today. You just heard from Mr. Nonso. And it's so unfortunate that he did not allow them to finish playing his profile and portfolio in interest of saving time. But I can understand that, because if we had listened to Mr. Nonso's portfolio today, we would still be playing it till 4 p.m. He has achieved a lot. Now, and that person who has come very far and has achieved so much success is the next speaker. Like Mr. Peters identified, she's the Secretary to the Anambra State Government. She also previously served as a Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning. And she's an alumnus of the Harvard Kennedy School. So, as we welcome Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake to give us a few remarks, can we have a profile also displayed on the screen as well? Thank you very much. Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a round of applause for her, please?
This music you're about to listen emanates from.
Good morning, everyone.
Profile of Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake, Secretary to the Government of Anambra State. Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake is an accomplished finance, strategy, and public sector development professional, currently serving as the Secretary to the Government of Anambra State (SSG), becoming the first female to occupy the office in the history of the state. Prior to her appointment, she served as Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, where she played a strategic role in the mobilization, planning, and allocation of state resources to drive sustainable socioeconomic development across Anambra State. Mrs. Nnake has over 13 years of professional experience spanning finance, economic planning, strategy development, and public sector transformation. Before joining government service, she worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria as a senior strategy consultant, leading high-impact engagement across public and private sectors. She holds a first-class degree in accounting from Benson Idahosa University and an MBA from Lagos Business School, and is a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, SCCA. Mrs. Nnake is widely recognized for her commitment to innovation, policy excellence, institutional reform, and inclusive development. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the stage Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, the chairman of VFD Group, very familiar face. Good afternoon and welcome. I walked in while you were speaking, and I'm just hoping maybe I need to find somewhere to listen from the beginning. Maybe just to have a full dose of what you shared. Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Let me stand on existing protocol, but also not missing out my colleague here, Nsikazo Okonkwo. So good afternoon, everyone. And in fact, I would say I'm back home because I'm an accountant. So when I heard accountants are putting this together, I said, okay, this would be interesting. Being in the presence of, more like I'm back home, more like I have to say that. Thank you, the university for inviting me. I'm not going to be reading a speech, right? I have something put down, but I'll just drop one or two thoughts. I listened, I came in while Mr. Nonso was speaking, and I think most of the things he has said, um, he has captured most of them. But of course, I'm also be speaking in the panel. So I think maybe some tailored questions would help as well. But I think one or two things. When I saw the topic, I felt okay. I wish someone told I had this kind of opportunity earlier in life, perhaps. That could actually help with shaping instead of having to model through all that. Because beyond, of course, we come up saying, oh, we're aspiring to do X, we're aspiring to do Y. I liked when what he said about you've made all the money, so what next? Right? I think that was a good catch because you ask yourself, what exactly all those things we were doing was it about? Was it about? What exactly? Because there's a time you continue to transform from you ask yourself what next really what life is way more than what people actually think about, right? And I will just drop an example. I came into government in 2022. I was that person that if you had to I worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Anything regarding government project, you won't find me there because really government is complicated. So I won't do any project relating to government. Only mistakenly found myself doing a government project because it was Anambra State Vision 2070. So it was a proud moment to say, oh, I was part of those that developed Anambra State Vision, right? So that was the only thing that actually gave me, I think after, when I got the job, I said, okay, ordinarily I wouldn't want to do a government project, but I think for Anambra's sake, and also for some relatable conversation around Anambra State. I think in the team, I'm the only one, I think I'm the only Igbo person in my team, and I'm also from Anambra State. So why would I shy away from it? So I took on the opportunity. And coming into Anambra State, I think the first, let me say, first 6 months, you come and ask yourself, what are you doing here, please? As in, how did you find yourself here? Because public sector is totally different from what I was used to, right? But over time, in fact, I tell people today, and this is not to say something to people who are not in public sector, but I just ask people, where would you rather be? Where would you rather be if you're not on the table where just one decision could impact many lives? It could just be your presence on the table that makes the whole difference. So if you're why step back and then other people are discussing and then you feel you have a good idea, you need to first of all find yourself in the room and on the table before you can make any significant improvement or development. So I just thought to say that so over the years I have moved you know over the years I have moved from thinking career-wise, where we want to get the global experience, we want to work with this company, we want to do that. But finally, you just ask yourself, what is all that if you're not actually making uh, some impact? So you move from, I think over the years, it has to do with the journey. I'm not sure it's something that could actually just start off and you're thinking like that. There is a journey to career development and also journey to life, right? You start off, oh, you want to achieve X, you want to achieve that. For every progress you make, there's another milestone to achieve. There is multiple milestones to achieve. And then you get to one point, you ask yourself, so I have done all those things. So then what next? To what end? So I think when I saw this topic, I think this is actually calling it up early to say that life is just about the impact you make, not necessarily how you live on a daily basis. Yes, you can start off all about myself. How do I do this? How do I do that? But if you have to continue to, for some life, what in fact, I get someone who says very often that it gets to a time in your life when the only thing that matter is the people you have impacted, the impact you've made, the people you have helped, the people it goes beyond you to then say these are the people who I can say has gained X and Y from what I have done. So that's actually living beyond yourself. So the topic, actually what we're discussing today, I like it. I like that it's not really focused on it's not about business companies and all that, but actually just looking inward to ask ourselves what is life beyond beyond all the things we think of on a daily basis. What is it that we as humans, what next if we achieve all that we have tried to do? But I came in while the conversation was going on, but I kind of think that as leaders, I think is the progression of how you have lived and how you have worked, how you have progressed. So when you look at people who have, of course, their instances of good leaders, there are some things that we see as very synonymous to every good leader that we know is actually the lives they have impacted, and many people who say, okay, I have lived through this person. So I think today's conversation is quite exciting, is insightful and exciting, especially that is taking us beyond ourselves and for us to start thinking, um, how do we build to last? Building to last, right? So if we all have to, so from whatever we're doing, how do we actually go beyond ourselves? So I look at it starting from, okay, from if you're building a business, how do you build to last, right? And if you're building a company, if you're building a business, how do you build? If you're also living or working for yourself, how do you take, what is sustainable? What is it that would stand the test of time beyond you? So this is just my brief opening remarks. I'm sitting on the panel as well, so maybe we'll have some specific questions addressed. I would be speaking to that. But the topic today, I think today just asking, how do we build a sustainable one, a business that outlives us, one, and also how do we build ourselves to the point that it lives beyond us. So for an individual, because I know that when we think of legacy, people think, oh, I leave millions of naira for people to inherit. Maybe not, but maybe the legacy you keep is the people, the lives you've touched, the impacts you've made, and some major things you've done in life that maybe if you had left it to yourself, it might not have mattered. But I will leave it at this point and just say that this is an interesting topic, and I'm excited to be here. And I just hope that beyond this session, each and every one of us will leave. I, I think we all have the tendency, we have all it takes to actually continue to groom ourselves. So if you're a business, if you're a leader, is actually what you need to do on a daily basis to actually ensure that if you're really of a company, how do I ensure that this company is sustainable beyond time? And also for an individual, the leadership you could bring is, how do I continue to take be at the front of level of front end of conversation, and how do I continue to do things that outlives me and also continue to make sustainable development in time. So I'll leave it at this point and then maybe come back when I have in the panel. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Chiamaka Nnamdi, can you put your hands together for her, please? When Professor Ene called me to ask me to be involved in today's proceedings, she expressed a fear. She confided in me that one of her biggest fears was that people will be sleeping while this was going on. I'm happy to say that we are all wide awake, and honestly, with the speakers that have spoken so far, if I was a lady, for example, I'd have proposed to Mr. Nonso on the spot while he was talking. And as for Mrs. Chiamaka Nnamdi, you see, we talk about beauty, poise, elegance. You can all see it embodied in one person. So can we put a hands together for the speakers that have spoken so far? Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Nnamdi said something while she was talking. She said she wished she had the opportunity for this kind of dialogue while going on. It's interesting that she did not have that opportunity, and yet she has gone to achieve so much success. Therefore, the message to young people today is that having had this opportunity here today, there is nothing stopping you from achieving high legacies. Nothing. Today's topic is from vision to legacy, inspiring Africa's next generation of responsible business leaders. It's just about success in your business. It's about success in your life, success in your community, success in your society. Again, I keep coming back to Miss Donald because, like I said, he inspired me. Why I'm going to definitely take a finance course. I was actually on the phone while Mr. Nake was talking to my village people, and we've agreed to adopt Mr. Nonso to come and also enhance our community as well. I mean, if he finishes building 20 schools in Oga, imagine how many schools he will now build in our own village. So please help me plead with him. When he's done with Oga, he should move out to my own village as well, please. Now, while Mrs. Nake was talking, one of the panelists walked in. Can we put a hands together for Dr. Kamsulide Ben Emasoba, please? Dr. Emasoba, you're welcome, sir. We are going to go into the panel session because we started late. Again, apologies for starting late. We all know Nigerian logistics. So we're going to go into the panel session, and I'm going to introduce the panelists as they come up, please. May we put a hands together for Mr. Nosopala, the GMD CEO, VFD Group PLC, please. I would just do better than that now. Are we not inspired? And we also welcome Dr. Tona Ejiofor, Head Debt Solution Advisor, First Half Now, Professor Ellen said Dr. Ejiofor was our brother. She did not tell you he's also my schoolmate as well. See, when I say schoolmate, sorry, I mean secondary schoolmate, not UNM. No disrespect to myself, Nigeria, but I went to Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and I'm not sure I've been a senior advocate if I've gone to UNM by now. No disrespect again meant to UNM. But, I mean, there's a reason why we are named after the great Nnamdi Azikiwe, and they are named after the University of Nigeria. Who would you rather be now? Nnamdi Azikiwe or University of Nigeria? We all know how Nigeria is. Can I also welcome, ladies and gentlemen, can I also welcome Mr. Samson Aneke, the Directorate Head, Southeast UBA Group PLC, please. Thank you very much. And I also welcome Mr. Azikiwe Mo, the MD CEO, Afriland Properties PLC. Mr. Modi, can you please make your way to the panel? Thank you very much. Mr. Amoni Stantal is not just the MD CEO of Afriland Properties PLC, but his portfolios also include the MD of Ankora Asset Management. I said included. Thank you. we'll get to his portfolio when it's time for his own lectures as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Can you please put your hands together for Mrs. Joanne Emagako, please? The Deputy Manager, Tax, Nigerian Revenue Service. Okay, the manager now, I'm so sorry, madam. I heard she's now the manager, Tax, NRS, Awka. Please put your hands together for her. Maybe after today we'll talk to her about getting me tax rebates. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the members of panel one. We are going to ask them some questions, get their thoughts and ideas on certain things, and they all have 5 minutes or less to answer the questions we put to them, after which we'll identify any member of the audience who also want to ask questions to them. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So, please put your hands together again, please, for them. Now, that's not putting your hands together now. Let's go like this. Dalunu. It's not easy having such power players here, giving up so much to come and talk to us. Like I said, maybe one of them will help form my JAMB aspirations to enter into the finance sector. So we'll start with Mr. Nonso. Mr. Nonso, your VFD Group is a diversified financial holding company operating multiple businesses simultaneously, spanning amongst others banking and insurance sectors, and all being coordinated under one governance. Now, when you were talking, you mentioned the issue of sustainability and having that energy to keep going to the next level. Can you please explain to us how do you sustain your entrepreneurial energy and where do you get it from?
I think it's fundamentally passion. Right? I once went for an interview way back when I wanted to. I think I was in KPMG then, and I was trying to move into Hess Holdings, um, and I responded jokingly so, but also serious-minded, and I said, "Sir, this job that I'm interviewing for, I would do this job for free if given the opportunity." Um, Not that I was going to do it for free, but the point is, when you are passionate about something, it's easy for you to go through the difficulties and the ups and downs of such a situation, and for you to power through extremely difficult days where you have limited sleep, where you're not certain as to what the outcome will be. And in entrepreneurship, these are your daily occurrence as it is. And so, if you're not passionate about something, I can tell you for free, you will not have the fuel to burn through and continue to execute. But if you are, when things even get difficult, you get double motivated to continue to push through it, because all you can see is the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're quite positive that your satisfaction and fulfillment will be derived from it. And so you keep pushing very hard at it. That is my very most logical and, in my view, relatable reason why I do some of the crazy things that we end up doing. Thanks.
And how do you keep that passion going?
I'm tempted to say that the passion is some chemical in the brain that is working in a manner that is working, right? Because how do you deprive yourself of a lot of things for things that you are not even certain of the outcome? And I give you an example.
Yeah. So it's fundamentally important to know how to keep the passion going, because what happens when you've achieved all that? When you've gotten to the very top, how do you sustain it? How do you keep it going? How do you go to what is the next level?
So, for me, on a relatable basis, I would say that if the passion is not there, there's no need forcing it. Just the truth. If the passion is not there, you should be rest assured that you've probably built a very strong organization that can survive you. And if the passion is burnt out, then you should hand it over to someone else, hopefully that you've trained, that would still have sufficient passion to continue the growth story. Um, and I've seen this in so many situations where somebody was very passionate about building a multi-billionaire company. You've built it, you've achieved it, then all of a sudden, maybe because of an experience with health or something, your mind pivots. If you can't transfer that business to someone else that can succeed you and continue the great work, then you have built and built for destruction in itself. Short answer to you is the only reason why we do what we do is because we're passionate about it. And if the passion is not there, quite frankly, I think you should allow someone else take the reign of leadership and the person will run it better. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nonso. Uh, Dr. Tuna, this is for you, sir. You have been involved in multiple complex financial transactions because basically your key area is investment banking. Now, sir, your these transactions they cut across power, infrastructure, oil and gas, amongst others, and they include major power plays and governmental organs. What does it take to handle such major complex transactions, and what advice would you give to financial professionals about structured finance and project economics?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would say I didn't have it all sort of figured out. So when you say, you preparing for doing this sort of large ticket transactions, for the benefit of, the younger people here, I started banking in 2004. I started at Fidelity Bank at the time, at the head office branch. And, just being at the branch, took over by me. One of the things that, I just was observing, I noticed a particular group of, senior colleagues that somehow dressed differently, um, carried themselves a bit more professionally, seemed to be a bit more knowledgeable. They went for meetings with the CEO, so you'd see the CEO coming in and going out with them. They had some high-profile clients, and I said to myself, "Look, I think I want to be like these guys, right?" And I started navigating my way, and I asked, "Look, who are these guys? It looks like they are in some other part of the building." And I was told these are oil and gas bankers, these are corporate bankers, blah, blah, blah. And I then said to myself, okay, I know nothing about oil and gas. I studied accounting in, Nnamdi University. As a matter of fact, I graduated before my senior sister because UNN at the time was notorious for strikes.
So, and we have a round of applause for Nnamdi University, please. Can we have a round of applause for Nnamdi University, please? Thank you.
So back to it. So I said to myself, look, I need to find my way into this group of guys. And because I didn't know anything about oil and gas, I figured, okay, maybe I should, take a course. So I took a course in energy finance in Scotland, came back, transitioned into investment banking. And, I think like, Nonso was saying about passion. That was actually when the passion unraveled. I could figure out that this is what I wanted to do, and this is exactly where I wanted to be. And was really from that point, So I think to the younger people, I would say you may not have it all figured out from day one, right? You could have a situation where You know, you walk into an establishment and you're saying to yourself, maybe this is not the right place for me. Listen to yourself. Listen to that inner mind. It's actually telling you something. And at the same time, you're saying to yourself, okay, where is that right place for me? So I think in making that transition, personally, I would say it was the turning point to say, okay, I've identified this. This is what I want to do. And it then comes naturally. Once you've found that niche, it's easier to express yourself. It's easier to represent that inner ideas that you have and translate it to your results, if you like. So I would say that's for me, in summary, that's how I'll look at it. Thank you.
So, in other words, identify your ambition and your passion, do your research on it, and pursue them. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Mr. Samson Aneke. Sir, you have led UBA's operations across 5 Central African countries. You even served the MD of UBA Congo DRC. So, in your view, what are your views, sir? Or what are your views on Africa as a professional opportunity? And what advice do you give to professionals looking to expand their vision to other regions?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, I will start by saying that when you talk about UBA footprints across Africa, it's actually in line with the vision of the founder, our founding chairman. One thing he never missed to say anywhere you see him is Afro-capitalism, that we are the ones that will develop Africa and not foreigners. And that was the motivation to have footprints both here and outside here. Okay? Now, and the idea, and which is important for young men and women sitting here and business guys here, is that UBA footprint is also designed to give some of the big dreamers we have here opportunity to give their dreams wings. Okay? Because a trader that is operating right now in the Onisha market, if he sits down and find out the opportunities out there beyond Nigeria, he can become small exporter without knowing it. And it is that bank like UBA that, that has footprints across 20 countries in Africa that can help you do that. Okay? So, and when you travel across Africa to do business, you will now know how strong and how good Nigeria is and why we underrate ourselves. Meanwhile, the other guys out there are looking up to us as key business drivers and those that will help their dream. So, how did I survive in Congo DRC? This is a country that is speaking French. I didn't know how to say bonjour in French before going there. But as a Nigerian, we always have that feeling that we can survive anywhere. And that was what happened. So, UBA was not in the map there before I went there. But I put UBA, not only putting them in the map, I made it, I took it to the level where the central bank recognized it and where the biggest magazine in the country published something and said just about 6 CEOs in the country of banks. I said 6 visions, 6 sectors, 1 industry, and UBA was in that. And the title, they said, the people that are changing the landscape of banking in Congo DRC. Somebody who doesn't speak their language, but because I carry Nigerian DNA and I believe I can drive business anywhere. And as a matter of fact, it was the turnaround that happened in Congo DRC within 7 months that made the board of directors of the group to to decide to appoint me as a regional chief executive officer so that I can replicate. You know, you talk about scalability. Whatever you have done there, do it across the 5 countries in that CEMAC region where you are. And that was how I started overseeing Cameroon, Chad, Gabon, Congo Brazzaville, Congo DRC, and so on. So UBA is there for you to give your dream wings from retail that you think you're doing small business to other connectivity that you can harness and make your supposedly small dream to be a big dream and with impact. Okay, let me stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, in other words, do not be afraid to pursue your goals and ambitions. And do not let obstacles stand in your way. Even if you can't say bonjour, you can say Saba. Thank you, sir. That's Mr. Azikiwe, CEO of Afrila. Sir, Afrila Properties PLC operates in a sector that is one of the oldest wealth creation vehicles in the world. Yes, institutional real estate development in Nigeria remains significantly underdeveloped. What, in your view, is holding it back, and what opportunities do you see that most young investors are not yet positioning themselves to capture?
Thank you. Well, real estate institutional development is quite tricky because it also involves extreme levels of capital deployment. And in most cases in Nigeria, for the areas where you would expect to see those capital deployments, it goes beyond deploying on the assets you are trying to develop. In most cases, you have to provide every other resource that ties into that asset by yourself, including road network, electricity, connectivity, and so many other things, water and the rest of them. It's easy for an institution to decide to come and do a real estate project and get free, cheap land. But by the time you get that cheap land, you move into that area, you don't need to worry about developing the road leading to that cheap land. You now think about so many other things. And that's just on one aspect. You now have the complex land management issues we have in Nigeria, which I see so many state governments, including Anambra State, trying to correct, which makes it easy for land verification. Most times you see people start projects, you buy land, you've done your fencing, you are doing the first set of foundations, and then all sorts of career capital starts flying all over the place, demolitions start going on. So that's it's also where they know their investments are protected. And that is why you also find people thriving more in luxury real estate development, because you tie the same amount of funds in that luxury development without the complexity of managing all the issues that come with doing multiple small scale or mid-level developments. And to your second question, where the opportunities are, I think also if you want to do real estate, where the opportunities are, especially for young people, like I mentioned, real estate is not cheap. However, if you want to do real estate, there are opportunities to buy cheap land. The question is, what do you do with those cheap land? Subject to extreme verification, buy from one family and another family comes up to claim the land. In the urban and developed areas, it's a bit more complex. But subject to that, for uh, people that want to enter at entry level, there's also ease of entry, where you can buy that one plot that's sitting in one neglected place somewhere. What do you do with it? There's big opportunity in real estate for farming. So people can buy real estate and decide to clear it. One plot, two plots, three plots. Just put some cash crops there, harvest it, monitor it, grow it, or you can pool funds. There's also opportunity for collaborations where a group of friends can come together, decide to buy one plot in a not so remote area, which provides opportunity for speedy and quick development. So those are where I see young people taking opportunity today.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. John Emeka, we come to an issue that disturbs most people in Nigeria, and particularly in Anambra State. Most individuals and businesses have little faith in taxation in Nigeria. and they shy away from tax compliance since they believe that most of the incentives that should come with paying tax are not experienced by them. How do you think this program will best be solved?
Okay, thank you. I would say that the taxman is the least liked person right now anywhere,
We like you.
anywhere,
We like you. We
anywhere
like
in
you.
Nigeria.
But we still like you though.
And and even the Bible said, it would be easier for the threads to go through the eye of the needle than for a taxman to make heaven. I stand corrected. But the truth of the matter is this: people see compliance as an afterthought. They don't look at it as the first thing they need to do. We look at businesses, even in Anambra and in Nigeria. Our businesses don't keep proper records. So sometimes you see when they say a taxman comes to you for tax audit or to check your compliance level, sometimes the reason people don't comply is not because they are fraudulent. It's also not because they don't want to comply, but it's because they do not keep records. They've forgotten documentation. So at the end of the day, they file their returns, obviously with some issues there. And so if you don't keep proper record, it is difficult for you to comply. Also, it is something that they should have in their mind. I will tell young people and anybody here, before you even open or start a business, you should start thinking about tax compliance. The reason is, if you don't comply, you are worse hit. Penalties, interest, which is even huge, and more liability to you than if you have complied in the first place. So for most businesses, what I would say is this: it is not an afterthought. It is something you should think about first. But for you to also comply very well, is that you must make sure that there's proper documentation in your business. In our climb, we find that people mix up personal business, personal funds with company funds. And at the end of the day, they find it difficult to differentiate what belongs to the company and what belongs to the CEO. So these are some of the problems we have, and it also makes them not to comply. Sometimes, after a long while, when the tax authority comes, you now see them running helter skelter and paying more than they should have if they had not put compliance as an afterthought in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaking of starting businesses, Mr. Emodi, many young Nigerians want to invest but do not know where to start. And many who actually start make costly mistakes. Now, for a young startup in real estate, what is the one thing any young person with discipline savings should understand before committing their first serious capital anywhere?
There are risks to every business, and I think the very first thing is to understand the risk of the business you are going into, so that your capital allocation and plan is well made from a place of knowledge rather than a place of emotion. Talking about emotions also, there's passion. If you invest in something you have passion for, there's more likelihood that you put in your best to drive it to success. And in having that passion also, you now go the extra step of getting yourself educated to understand the business, including seeking the right mentorship, talking to the right people, talking to people that have done the business. One mistake people make very often is you see somebody running a poultry. Every day, the truck is packing eggs out of the place, and you want to run a poultry because you believe that once you start, eggs will start running out of your place. But there's a fundamental problem. A lot of the businesses in Nigeria, and this is from personal experience, is running on subsidy. Somebody is doing something from his house, like our tax madam say, you are not keeping record, so you are not paying rent. If I come to do the same business, once I pay rent, it's unprofitable. The person that eggs are trucking out of, the father has a truck, he's not paying for the truck. The day you do the business and put the price of a truck, So you need to be sure you're not competing with subsidy before you do any business. You don't do business because other people are jumping in to do business. And even borrowing from the Bible also, like madam, say before you start any business, you have to go and sit down and ask yourself, do you have money to do the full business? Not you start halfway. Because people without, young people, and it's a problem we see very often, without enough information, without enough direction, they rush into something only to realize midway that they are not prepared for what they are going into. And what then happens? If you have opportunity to borrow, you are borrowing at exorbitant rates, and rates that are not sustainable to help your business survive. If you are not borrowing, you are now looking for additional money, selling stuff that gave you the money in the first place. Now you've lost the goose, you've lost the chicken, and you've lost the egg, and then it becomes a lot of problem. So I would recommend for starters, build your capital. Understand the business. Building capital, there's nothing wrong in savings till you have enough money. Save wisely, do several investment opportunities. Save, invest, build that cash. When it's enough to go into the business, then you start delving into the business. But that is the basics. And earlier on, I also mentioned in my current area, real estate, there are opportunities to buy growth assets, what we call penny assets, all those plots of land in areas where you can still find for 100,000, 200, 500,000. In some cases, it comes as a package under a union, or some sort of union. They come together, buy land. See if you can find one of those investments where the proper land vetting is done. Because at that entry level, trying to do the level of vetting expected of you before you can do a land investment can be very expensive and makes the land expensive. But if you key into some collaborative efforts, work with different unions, then there's an opportunity to buy growth assets that you can use to preserve wealth. When it appreciates, you sell and go into the business of your passion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Samson, from a banking perspective, what would you advise a young Nigerian wishing to start up a business and who has the capital capital to do so? What advice do you give him? What do we ask him to understand before committing his capital to that business?
Okay, partly my colleague that spoke now touched important thing that you don't just go into business because someone else is doing it. You are just seeing the aspect he wants you to see. You are seeing the glory, but you are not seeing the behind the scenes that are making that business to thrive. It's just like you looking at some guys in the social media, they are wealthier than Dangote. But when you now get to know them in the real self, you'll just be so disappointed. So what I would say is, the first thing is to understand the risk in the business you want to do. Because every business has a liquidity aspect, the risk aspect, before the return. You can see I'm mentioning return last. But when we start with that last one and make it first, you are obviously going to make a huge mistake. And then for young guys, I'll also tell you, because when you are thinking of investment, you know what we do these days is they just think about the return now, and they rush into it. Oh, this guy got this X amount, and that's all they see. And that's why some people can go and spend the little thing they would have used to help themselves. They bet it out in the betting company and nothing happens. So, but when you first ask yourself some obvious question, what's the level of risk you are willing to take? And what is your carrying capacity? What I mean carrying capacity is you have 100,000. Maybe this 100,000 will be needed in 2 weeks' time to pay school fees. And you are now thinking of going to put it in a land, and then you turn it around. It won't work that way. So you don't put the money you need now into something that is supposed to cook over time before becoming money. So please understand the risk you want to take and any business you want to do. If you cannot ask clear questions to say, how does it generate money and you don't understand that flow, please don't go into it. You have to understand the risk. You have to understand how it turns around to become money. Did you understand? So before you even think about what revenue can you make there, so sometimes the fact that you pull back to understand one, two, three, a few things before launching out, you'll be shocked that in a small space of time, you might even overtake the people that have done it years before you join. Just because you learn something and you play smarter. So you work smart, not just working hard. You work smart. And there's difference between the two. Because if you think about the man in the market carrying barrel and they load everything and he's jacked it up and carry with all his muscle, is he not working hard? He's working hard. But someone sat to develop some machine that way you just press button, it will go and put something on and carry that thing and you press, it will even go faster. Drop and come back and carry another one. That's madness. So please, every business calls for that, no matter how little and no matter how big. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Tona, Mr. Nonso, what are the common mistakes? What, in your view, are the common mistakes most Nigerian entrepreneurs constantly make when they approach institutions like yours for capital?
Okay, let me go first. So in my line of work, right, which is basically project finance, uh, you have sponsors and developers basically come to you and they say to you, look, for example, I want to build a power plant, or I want to, build a railroad, or I want to, I've been given a concession for a road, I want to finance it, or I want to develop an oil and gas asset, right? And you then ask, okay, fantastic. What have you done in terms of your first level before you go into that investment? And they say to you, well, we know you guys can do it. Just help us find the money. Um, and you find that there's been no thought towards project preparation. Diligent project preparation. Nothing has gone into, okay, so you want to build a power plant. Have you done a power audit? That hasn't been done. And you're looking for debts, but you haven't done the basics for the equity. Want to do a railroad, you haven't done a ridership study, you haven't done a traffic study. And these are basic things that will determine if the road or the railway is indeed bankable. So to be able to attract private capital debt into the transaction. So we see that a lot where developers, sponsors haven't done the basics from a project development and preparation perspective. The expectation is that debt would always follow good projects. And you need to give the very first and good impression of your project when you come to lenders. UBA, for example, you would see them, they won't be that patient to help you through the entire project development. They want to see you come with a transaction you've thought about, deeply. So that's part of our role, but won't help you fix the basics of project preparation. We see that as a challenge. There are institutions that are able to provide you with the funding you need to prepare a project. And that's where having the right network becomes handy, and being able to say, okay, I need to first go to an institution like an Afrexim, for example, who can provide you with the funding you need to prepare your project for debt. So from a sponsorship perspective, I'll say developers, sponsors, a lot of them need to prepare their projects. They need to be in a position to approach institutions with projects that are broadly prepared, so they can attract the relevant type of financing. Thank you.
So I think first is it's an offshoot of passion. So when I say passion without diligence, so you're passionate about something and you want to get and go and move and achieve and succeed, but you've not done the requisite diligence. And it's easy to see through such an engagement because fundamentally we invest equity and we are the early stage investors before the debt comes in. And so when you ask the question of, okay, you want to build a power plant, what's the capacity of the power plant? If the person is unable to show diligence that has been done and gone into the process, then very quickly you want to avoid such conversations. And you can push that person back to do some more work, which is also redeemable in itself. The second is the lack of ability to build a team. The idea might be fantastic. The person might have the capacity to execute or lead the execution of that transaction. But if he lacks the ability to attract people and work effectively with those people, then there's a problem there because the scale potential of that business is limited. The last, in my view, which is extremely important and is a no-no, is traces, no matter how micro those traces are, traces of dishonesty. Once you see dishonesty in any conversation with someone that you're looking to invest in or support, is a no-no. Just shut that door and walk away because it would only get worse. It never gets better. And I think it's Warren Buffett that says integrity is expensive, it's a luxury. And if someone does not have it, just walk away and run away because it will only put you in trouble. From an equity standpoint, those are the key indicators for me. Of course, the reverse of it are things that you want to see in someone that you potentially would support. Thanks.
Thank you very much. For once of time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take one question from the audience because, like I earlier said, some of our panelists have engagement somewhere, so I have to leave. So we'll take one question from the audience. I can see one hand up there. Yes,
Jeffrey, please, can you take the mic round?
the lady.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start on existing protocols. I've listened to Mr. Nonso so closely. He said something about retail investors, and something came to mind. Let me take a model. How can we have the law that a retail investor can use his portfolio as a lien to borrow? Is the law, but is it accessible? That's to the banks. Let me take a model. Mr. Tony Elumelu took a loan from Afrimex. All he did was to invest in Seplat. Today, he sits as the chairman of the board. So I want to replicate that model. Do I have that access? I'm just a retail investor. Thank you.
So I would apologize that I have very limited time, but this is easily a 3-hour. Right? Respond to you as briefly as possible. You see, when we talk about the retail revolution that is going to hit the country, we're talking about fractionalization of assets. We're talking about shared assets. We're talking about retail trading of assets. Now, I also mentioned the potential of the exchange and the fact that that potential has not been scratched. You see, collateral is a very necessary form or component of financing. Nobody's going to give you money if you don't show capacity to yield, to generate yield, and you don't have the asset to back it if it doesn't go well. Because the debt investor is not an equity investor. He's not going to share your loss. He's going to take his upside, limited as it is, and walk away. And the only reason why he will do that is that he has a fallback plan, which is collateral. Now, if you take it to what Mr. Nnamdi spoke about, which is how do you co-invest with people to acquire assets that individually you cannot acquire. You extend that a bit is how do you have a retail horde of people who can invest 10,000 naira with multiple people and then buy a property in a choice area that is acceptable as collateral to a bank. Now, that fraction that you own would be your collateral in the world of economics that we see emerging in a couple of years from now. And so, to answer your question, is the combination of technology, which is innovation, the retail opportunities that exist, and exchanges would make it possible for you to invest in an Ikoyi property. Instead of having a whole of it, you have a fraction of it. But that fraction would also be available as collateral for you to access facilities when you do need it. Now, the reality is you have to build your capacity to borrow. It doesn't fall. Mr. Lumelu did not just fall upon the opportunity and then use collateral. He has built it over a long period. Now, the disadvantage we see in the economy is that the retail people are excluded from the banking process. And so what we are saying is, regardless of how small you start, we want you to start the journey and ultimately opens up to bigger opportunity for you to consummate larger transactions. Like I said, it's a very complicated topic. It's something that will take way more time, but unfortunately, we don't have much time at this point in time. But I would yield the mic to my colleague.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, with your kind permission, may we exempt Mr. Nunso from further participation on the panel as another engagement to go to. I'm coming. And then any further questions for him can be sent across to us. I will make sure it gets to him and he will do a paper and answer your questions. You have a comment to make, sir?
Okay, just to add to all he said, just to add for
You have an award.
Okay, just to add, for us to know, because when you look at the way it's communicated, you might misunderstand it to think that the retail, the low-level retail or business guys are excluded. Okay, so to let you know, these days, and that's why what my sister mentioned here is very important: documentation and keeping data, your business data. Today, banks lend what we call cash flow lending. You don't really need your property to get money today to run your business. But what is the problem? The problem is that you have your money not in your business name. It's either your money is in Anthony and go, and you are using it for chieftaincy title, for wedding, and every other thing, and then you do your business. No. If you can start early, separate your business from your personal own, let your business have a life of its own and have its own transaction flow. As a banker, when I check what volume you have done between January to June, I may decide that I can take a risk on 50% of your of average monthly inflow, because that's your capacity. And I can give you that money without any form of collateral, but give it to you, make sure that you pour it back into the business and you turn it around, because it's a percentage of your capacity. You'll be able to cycle it out. Unless one Igwe in your town now gives you chieftaincy title and you take it to go and do ceremony instead of the business. So everyone has opportunity. Build your data, keep records. Your data can be your collateral for the next loan you need to run your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sampson. At this point, one of our presenters and panelists, Mr. Nonso, has a flight to catch. That was how we said, if you have more questions, please, let's have them. We'll let him receive it. But before he leaves, the department wants to make a presentation of a plaque to him as memorabilia for being in this event. And let me very quickly and respectfully too invite the Secretary to Government of Anambra State to please step forward and make the presentation to Mr. Nonso Opala. Nonso, please, can you? That's okay. HOD, bring it out.
This award is from Department of Accountancy, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Appreciation Award to Mr. Nonso Bala in recognition of your insightful engagement at the 2026 International Conference in London.
All right, thank you very much. Before Nonso runs, we'll just do a quick group photograph here. Please join. Moderator, please join. SSG, here, please. All right, thank you very much. I guess at this point, Nonso can now take his leave.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Again, with your kind permission, I'll depart from the program of events. Again, we started late, so we've had to shift some things around. And at this point, we are supposed to be going on a break at this point, but I'll crave your indulgence for a very short presentation lecture from Mr. Azikiwe Modi. Now, like I said before, Mr. Azikiwe is the MDC of African Properties PLC. And he's amongst his previous and numerous portfolios. He was once MD and Cora Asset Management. He's a non-executive director with the VFD Group as well. And he's also the author of a book called Swinto. And he had time to do all this while he was still working with the World Bank of Canada.
Of Mr.
Azikiwe
Modi is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Afriland Properties PLC, one of Nigeria's leading integrated real estate companies, offering end-to-end services across the real estate value chain. With over 2 decades of experience spanning financial services, real estate, investment management, and strategic planning, Azikiwe is leading.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Azikiwe Modi, and I'm happy to be before you presenting this afternoon. And my other brother and boss, Mr. Nonso Bala, just left. I've worked with Nonso for the most part of the past 9 years, beyond being classmates and being friends and brothers. He has brought down this conversation from where we started, and thanks to the SSG for her contribution too. And now it's time to bring it home, bringing it closer to the people we are supposed to be talking to. But before I start, Professor Inye is out of the hall, right? I would have expected to have more students in this hall. They are the reasons we're here. They are the next generation of leaders we expect to see. But my appeal to you all, the lecturers and their guardians in-house, is to find a way to take the message of today back to them. Even if it means getting some of them in the room here to do a paper on what has been discussed here today, and find a large opportunity to share it amongst the other students in the room. Some of us you see here today are standing here because we also had opportunities like this to talk to business leaders. And it will shock you what's going on out there in the business world right now. People have lost passion to do anything. The average young boy you see has a betting app on his phone. Instagram and the rest of them have taken half of their brains. And it's not a joke. And it's something we should take very seriously. As an adult, most adults, we battle that addiction because it's based on algorithms that are studied by people that planned to trap us in social media. They make money off you. One thing you should know as a young person is that everybody you meet is trying to sell something to you. That is the natural way of life. Anybody talking to you, excuse me, can I see you for 1 minute, is selling to you. Anybody presenting anything to you is selling to you. How do you become a consumer to the entrepreneur that is selling to other people? How do you make money from them? It's something we need to take very seriously. So having said that, please, one of you, if you can go out, if there are students outside, this is an opportunity to bring them inside. Okay? Okay. This is an opportunity to bring them inside. I see a lot of people from that open door. This conversation is for them. But before we start, taking from where Nonso brought it from to where SSD dropped it, I'll take it on from there. Now we are discussing vision, we are discussing the next generation leaders, and we are discussing legacy. The question is, what will be your legacy? What legacy do you want to leave behind? And that question, when I try to discuss this with a few people, I say, what do you understand by legacy? Some people saw legacy as a building somewhere. Some people saw legacy as a big company. In fact, somebody quoted Warren Buffett, Tony Elumelu. Then I told him, everybody can create legacy. You and I can create a legacy. What is legacy? Legacy is that thing that keeps working long after you have gone. And it doesn't need to be for an entire generation. It doesn't need to be for an entire village. People create good legacies. People create wrong legacies. The legacies of indecent dressing we have today was created by people. The legacies of armed robbery, kidnapping was created by people, and other people learned from it. Legacy can be good, legacy can be bad. The question is, what good legacies are you creating? So, I've titled my topic today. I'm trying to rush through this. I don't hope to spend more than 10 minutes. I've titled my topic today, What is in Your Hands? With what is in your hands, can you create a legacy? When you read the stories in the Bible, you hear when, don't mind me if I don't know the particular verse. That's why we have the Reverend Sister here. She can help us. When you see that place there was one question he's asked. What do you have? You can't create something. What did he have? He said 5 loaves and 2 fishes. What did he do to 5 loaves and 2 fishes? When at the wedding in Canaan, they ran out of wine. He said, okay, you have drums, go and put water in the drum. I need a base to do my work. I'm not preaching here, but if you are inspired, say hallelujah. So, this is what legacy is about. What is in your hand? As a student today, as a lecturer today, what is in your hand? It talks about what you will be remembered for. Legacy is those small acts. It doesn't have to be big. Also, coincidentally, I sit on the board of his private free school. It's a free school that runs from accommodation. You drop your child off, you see them during break. Full accommodation, full boarding, male and female, well manned, the best of teachers you can think of. And for context, anyway, I won't give that context. For context, it's a big school. And on the average, they take about 30 students. They are in the third year, they have about 180 people. Feeding 180 mouths morning, afternoon, night, and you're not allowed to bring provision. So they give you provision, give you school fees, and the feeding. I spent my years in boarding house, I never ate meat or egg in school. Now you have a free body where people's children eat meat and egg every day. And the only thing you need to qualify for that school is you can't afford it. On the average, being on the board, I'll tell you this for free, costs about 4 million per head to train a student in that school. And somebody is bearing it. So what will you be remembered for? But you don't need to be a Nelson Mandela to create your own legacy. Who is that child in your village? Some of us like to do good. If you go to Instagram, like you said, we have so many billionaires that are richer than Dangote. When you open up, they are empty. From privileged position with seats and interactions that we have, they are completely empty. Now, with what is in your hand, what good are you able to do? If you give good education to your children, it's legacy, it's good legacy. But when you talk about legacy, you also talk about impact. You go beyond legacy. What other legacy have you created beyond places where you have the direct opportunity to benefit? How many children? There are people that don't go to school today because they don't have 15,000. There are people that don't go to school today because they don't have 30,000. You don't need to be a governor, you don't need to be a senator to solve that. But mind you, you can't solve the world's whole problem. You can't solve every problem. But the one you have opportunity to solve where you are, you have to put people first at all times. And you have to start local. Now I'm going to tell you my very own journey, and it's part of the brief that I was given. But without going too deep into it, we started from the foundation. How was the foundation built? The foundation was built because I have parents that were not too rich, but they decided that I must have good education. Just like most of us have, just like most of us are offering to our children. It is the basics that you give them that starts forming how they transform lives as they go and as they grow. Now the question is, after their education, what have they done with it? Then you have what I call the entry. You now get a job, you start to work. In the workplace, are there problems that you wake up to you are trying to solve? I entered work trying to solve problems. And I remember those days in my early days in school. Um, at the workplace. That was in Zenith. My first 2 months, I was in funds transfer, I was supporting the head of admin at that time. And the head of admin went on leave. So we had what we call the TQM, Total Quality Management meetings. And I was in that meeting, something was wrong and it's been biting me. I said, well, let me say it. I now said it. One of the managers told me to shut up, that you are here because this guy is on leave. You are not supposed to be talking. Just listen and observe. And my manager, Mr. John Okoye, then was very angry. He said that should never happen. He said that actually the idea that I brought was one of the best. And he took it up from there. He said, in fact, if the guy resumes, he should not do admin again. That was how I became head of admin until I left that branch almost 9 years after. So, did I create a legacy? Did I leave a legacy? Yes. I made transformational changes that up till today, the things I put in place are the things that they are still doing, and I'm very proud of them. Then you need to have the discipline. At times, for you to grow from one level of influence to another, you also need to have the discipline to improve yourself. So if you have seen my profile, you see a lot of studied this, studied that. As I was growing, I was becoming hungry for more. I needed to prepare myself for the next level. And for that, every next level. They say when preparation meets opportunity, success is inevitable. So as there were no opportunities. Matter of fact, as at the time I was writing my CIBN exam those days, we used to write our CIBN exam in CBN, on Akbara Avenue. I was in the Enugu then. When we go for that exam, there were just two people in that hall, myself and one other person. By the time I qualified, we were only two that had CIBN. And it felt like you don't need it for anything, but it didn't cost me anything. I didn't have to stop work to do it. But did it help my career grow? Definitely it helped my career grow. And along the path, every other influence and every other decision I made also came from that. Then you have the pivots, and in between I had to switch careers. It wasn't easy, but when that challenge came, I didn't think about it twice. It was this Mr. Alonso. Mr. Alonso is very stubborn, by the way. We were in a meeting, he just said to me, I think it's time for you to go to real estate. I said, what? He said, it's time. I said, no problem. Why do you want me to? He explained. I said, fine. I thought maybe something we will now plan and work into. This was on a Saturday. By Monday morning, they were announcing me as the MD of the real estate company. I said, what is this? But he also talks about influence. Now, I'll drop a lot of things I wanted to say, and I will go to tell you pointedly 6 ways to leave a good legacy, starting from the topic that I presented to you. What is in your hands? What is in your hands? Today, what's in your hands is that you might have a free 10,000. What's in your hands is as simple as you're a lecturer. What's in your hands is that you are the HOD. You are the one to make decision on another person's life. How do you leave a lasting impact that long after you have gone, even before you know what is going on? And I'll tell you a true life story. I'm not sure I've told this story before in public, but coincidentally, as I was sitting down there, someone walked in and greeted me and is still in this hall. When I was in UNIZIK, in my year 3, I believe, then thanks to people that yapped us for strike, we just got back from one strike. And while on that strike, I had hernia surgery, so it was really bad for me. And this was about 20 years. How many years ago? That's 23 years ago, thereabout. And I got back. We had an assessment. I did the assessment, and I now met. After a few days, the lecturer called me and said he did very badly in the assessment. I didn't even know the lecturer had taken note of it. He said you answer questions very well in class, and but in this, you did very, very poorly in this assessment. Why? At that point, the only thing I did was I immediately opened my belt, pulled it down, and said, "See, I had a surgery." He said, "Oh wow, go and prepare and come back and write this assessment." And because I had that uncommon opportunity, I read and prepared like I have never done before. And something that was beyond the surgery was difficult. It was a difficult course for me. But in that difficulty, I understood it more than ever because there was now something else attached. There was purpose. I wrote the assessment, cleared it, and eventually I wrote the exam and came out as one of the best. Big ups for Mr. Chukwuemeka, Professor Chukwuemeka, sitting right there in this one. I've not told him this, but since then, we've been in touch. I promised him last month that I was coming to him, but I haven't come. This is the first time I'm coming down to Bangla, but I'll still come. But these are the little marks that never go forgotten. He had an opportunity and he left a legacy. I, Azikiwe body, I am his legacy. Thank you, sir. Now that's act. Because that action not made me only pass FN, financial management, which he was teaching us then. The advanced one was easy. Then we had a more difficult one under Mr. Somewhere. It was also very easy. And not only that, because it was too easy for me, I think we had another strike. He now dragged me to his office to review a book he wrote. So as an undergraduate, I was already reviewing a book. He had a secretary there called Nnamdi that was buying rice and apple for me those days. So I hope you are still in touch with that. I would like to see her. Anyway, so for you to leave a good legacy, knowledge and education, there are things you know that you must teach. That is what is in your hands. It doesn't need to be money. There are compassions you have to give. There's empathy you have to extend. You have genuine care. Amongst the students, among the lecturers, it's the same thing. Genuine care for other people. Because that's how you know when somebody has a challenge and you can reach out and see how to solve problems for them. Solve the problem. There's economic impact. There are people that have done businesses have succeeded. The business in itself will keep hiring people long after they've gone, beyond family members. That is impact. If that is what is in your hands, do it and do it well. There's the people development. It's as simple as this conversation we are having today is focused on people development. There are some students with what they have learned today. For me, I was born and I was raised in Onitsha. And my heart bleeds when I see some of the people that grew up with me, including younger schoolmates, you know. But as I look back sometimes, I think of what are the exposures that I got that made the difference in my life. You know, before I graduated from school, I had the opportunity to go to Abuja for the first time in my life. We were in final year, then we went to Abuja. Then we now drove past CBN building. They said that is CBN building. I looked at that building, I pointed, I said my office will be up there. I never got to CBN, but if you give me CBN today, I will not take. So for me, that is achieving CBN. So how do we infuse dreams like this so that people will walk to aspire for great things? And not for the, what do they call it? They say it's odds. They say, so I hear some people say they are sharing odds. If you bet this one, you win this one. If you do crazy things that doesn't make sense. And thanks to Governor Soludo for stopping the mess at the waterfront. They tell you that you don't need to work, just go there and bath, and you make money. And people have all sorts of pots with their family names, with their blood tied into it without understanding what they're doing. And they leaving a legacy, guys. They are leaving curses for their children and children. So what kind of legacy are you leaving for yourself and your children? And that goes to cultural contribution, then the moral leadership and their service to community. When I was driving here today, I used the other lane. I was wondering, in this day and age, why are people driving? Yes, you have two lanes. People are doing one way on this lane. People are doing one way on this lane. There's police and road safety here. There's police and road safety here. Why can't there be order? Just order. Who is leaving this legacy of disorderliness and just, it's crazy to say the least. Now, someone can be responsible and have the legacy of stopping the mess. I don't even know. Insecurity is not a reason and excuse for this thing you see here. Because and my heart even bleeds that you see children selling bread by the side, everybody, they are collecting money, putting in broad daylight. This armed robbery. Somebody should have the legacy of stopping it. Maybe not me, maybe not you. In your current capacity, do you have it? But the person that has the capacity, will they stop it? So, why I'm asking the question, what is in your hands? What have you done with what you have today? That assures that when you get the other thing you do not have, you will do the bigger thing and let the bigger thing speak for you. It is very, very shameful, the kind of things we see. But that's the same reason why I think this topic could not have come at a more timely time than this. For the next generation of leaders, we need to start asking that question. Do not wait until you become a Dangote so that you say you want to end girl molestation, you want to end out of school children. Start from where you are today. If you have a goal and a dream that says, under my watch, no child I know will be out of school. If by the time you finish the people you know, go to the people that you meet before you know it. Mr. Okala did not start with 180 students. We started with a few, and it is advancing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any? Please, can we appreciate him one more time? Is there any question you think we can ask him now that has inspired us? Very well, thank you so much.
Hi, my question is targeted at the type of energy. I appreciate the doing the little that you can do, but I'm also interested in the type of legacy that we need in our country, and that is the legacy of self-sacrifice and martyrdom. Because you see, the energy that is required to change things in the country the way it is, um, you will agree with me, requires a little more zest than helping the poor and doing within our means. So it requires addressing, showing up at when people are gathered to discuss things, participating in grassroots context, and so on and so forth. So, can you speak to the type of energy that young people and even people in our generation can put towards changing things in our polity in the country? Thank you.
Okay. If you have a driver that you keep 10,000 naira in the car, it steals 500 naira, and you ask him, did you take money? He says no. If you become a governor tomorrow, he will not steal 500 naira from your car. He will steal 500 million from the boss. That is why I say it starts small. It starts with what we individually have in our hands. The problem is that we look at politicians, we accuse them, they are doing this, they are doing that, they are doing that. If all of us bundled in this room now become police officers tomorrow, what we will do may be different from what the ones outside are doing. It's the same thing that we're going there to do. So, transformation starts from, it starts local. We have to start with that thing you have. Like, it's no more than this. What is in your hands? We can participate in politics. All the people we are now, people are fighting themselves. This party, that party, that party. And underlining God, when we get in, what's next? If you do not have the discipline to, at least, and there are levels to it. You know, if thief is promoted, you can promote thieves. There are people that have gone from thief 1 to thief 2, thief 3, thief 4, thief 5. So at times what we're even asking for is that we don't want thief 10. If only thief 2 can come in and do everything he says he will do, we might finally go to a thief 0 level, if you understand what I mean. So that energy is in the little things that we do. You don't wait to become president to change things. You don't wait to become governor to change things. Everybody wields political power in ways that do not make sense. So I gave a recommendation to my lecturer, and for some people is that as long as I'm alive, come and graduate, let me see. Somebody you don't know from anywhere. For some people, it's just recklessness. And mind you, legacy is not committing evil, it's negligence. That is actually negligence of doing good when you have the opportunity to do good. That is how to not leave a legacy. So, in the broader terms, yes, but if we can question, I went to a school that if you cross on the carpet, on the grass, I went to DMGS on it. If you cross on the grass and the principal cites you, any teacher cites you, they'll just point to you, kneel down there, then they'll come and flog you. Then from there, you go back to your father's house. And then we watched our grass grow. Nobody was walking on the grass. Then you go to other, you can't drop a piece of paper. So right now when I'm driving and I see somebody went down, throw paper from the car, I overtake the person. At times you cannot do anything, but it's the minimum, it's the little that you can do. You point it out that you've done something wrong. But if you do not build those little, so which is why when I started, I said they should go and bring the students in. Because for some of us, we have gone beyond teaching. For some of us, they are still at development stage where they are still malleable. It's still easy to mold them into the right. We can start demanding for the right things to be done. I hope that's clarified. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Azikiwe Nnamdi, for your presentation and then for the clarifications you've given. At this point, to take a break before the next session, panelists appear to make some presentation of memorabilia for this event. May I respectfully invite Professor Okoye, former council member, former director, UNIZIK Business School, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Accountants to please step forward and make this presentation. First, let me invite Mrs. Joan Olachi Menako, the manager, tax of Nigeria Revenue Service.
One more night.
we've learned a lot from you. We're going back to by the time we are done with this conference, we believe strongly that we're going to reach out to our students who are not here, and we are going to share with them what you have shared with us. Thank you.
Let me invite Prof, please remain. Let me invite Nnamdi to please also step forward and receive his memorabilia. And I'm deliberately letting Professor Moko do that so that the heights will match each other.
We want to appreciate you, Mr. Samson Aneke, in recognition of your outstanding contribution as a panelist at the 2026 International Conference Symposium. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I invite Professor Uchucheke to please step forward and make the next presentation. And I invite Mr. Azikiwe to please step forward and receive his memorabilia from the department.
This is appreciation from the Department of Accountancy and Azikiwe University in recognition of your impactful contribution as a leader, as a newspaper presenter, and parent at the 2026 International Conference Symposium.
Thank you very much. Let me very quickly invite our landlord to please take his seat here. That is the Director UNIZIK Business School, Professor Pius Bisi Okoye. And let's appreciate him as he makes his way. Director, please, can you come and take your seat? You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst Professor Ezeman and welcome you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Also in the room is the Professor Purity Dubuisi Okoro. Professor Purity, we welcome you. Thank you so much. Earlier recognized Professor Uchucheke is here. We also have Dr. Ifeanyi, HOD of Marketing. We welcome you. Prof, please, Professor Ezeman, please, can you sit here? Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Just here. Beside the BBC. After all, you're also a past director of UBS. Please, let's appreciate her again. Dr. Awka for Sam will continue with the next set of panelists. Thank you very much. Let's welcome him back to stage.
Thank you very much. We would assume that no more lights from that lackluster approach. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, again, today we'll be talking from vision to legacy. Something interesting happened about Mr. Money talking. Sometimes people talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. But from the synergy between Professor Chude and Mr. Nnamdi, you could see someone talking the talk and walking the walk. There was a serious synergy between the previous lecturer and his students. That is one of the legacies that's being talked about today. But that could only have been possible because Mr. Nnamdi was a good student. If as a student you indulge in malpractice, there will be no legacy. If as a student you indulge in disrespecting your lecturers, there will be no legacy. On the other hand, if as a lecturer you indulge in extortion, you indulge in pressurizing students to sleep for you for marks, there will be no legacy. If you don't pass students when they deserve to be passed, there will be no senate, there will be no legacy. So these are the little things, these are where we start from. You don't have to be a Dangote to leave a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a second panel coming up. And after that panel, we would have ended for today. So I hope and I pray and I want to believe that so far we've all enjoyed ourselves and we've all learned a lot from what's going on today. If we have, can we say amen? I think only 5 of us learned something today. Can we say amen if we've learned a lot today? I would say yes, we have learned a lot. Thank you very much. That is the legacy of Accountancy Department, not Azikiwe University. That's the legacy they are leaving behind. Thank you very much. It's funny, I'm not a member of that department, and yet when I see good things, I speak about them. Unfortunately, with all our bravado, with all our knowledge, with all our mansi, I have to say today that accountancy has shown a lot to be admired, and maybe law faculty may do better. In fact, not may, they will definitely do better, copy them and do better, and exceed accountancy's legacy. But for now, today's accountancy is and the legacy you are leaving behind is still for you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I first call upon Mrs. Chiamaka Nnamdi, the Secretary to the State Government, as a member of panel 2. Please give a round of applause, please. Mr. Mark Way here. I call upon Mr. Ikazo Koko, Chairman, CEO, AIRH, please, and Ambassador to Revenue Service. And I call upon Dr. Council Ben, Ambassador GMP, and Mr. Emoni talked about DMGS. I was talking about legacy left behind by DMGS. Interestingly, at today's event, in the first panel, you had 2 members of Federal Government College and 2 alumnus of Federal Government College. And now in this panel, you also have 2 alumnus from Federal Government College. I think our legacy has overtaken DMGS legacy now. I think we have a much bigger legacy now, don't we? Please, can we have a round of applause for Federal Government College, please? Is that jealousy I'm seeing? Don't be our fault, man. Can we clap for us, please? Please, thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are supposed to have Major General Charles Fortier on the panel, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So we'll make do with our 3 panel members today. I'm sure, like our previous panel, a lot of questions will come up and we'll take our time and answer your questions this time. We promise you there will be serious power players in this thing today, and you can see them. So once again, please a round of applause for the panel, please. And with your permission, I'll start the session, if you don't mind. With your permission, are you comfortable with us? Okay? Okay, thank you. You can see the aura the woman has about her. You know, in Nigeria, in Igbo land particularly, the most powerful chief you have female goddess. Are you doubting me? We keep talking about women being the weaker sex. I want to chica, Anna, and I love beginning wine. I love wine. It took Professor Emmett to bring together such power players. I'm not sure any male staff would have been able to do that. With no disrespect to us. I mean, I'm sure if I had gone to Professor Pius Okoye, he would tell me no, go away. See? But that's the way it is. So thank you very much. So if I may start with Mr. Ikazo Koko. You're welcome, sir. Sir, as chairman and CEO of Anambra State Internal Revenue Service, you sit at the intersection of public finance, governance, and citizen accountability. Internal generated revenue is one of the most direct levers the state has for funding development without federal dependency. What is the biggest structural challenge to IGR in Anambra? And what does it feel about the relationship between tax compliance, governance quality, and citizens' trust in your government?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I think the biggest challenge we have as a people is the trust between the tax administrator, that's the state, representing the state, and the people. Tax laws, tax rates have been there, they are enablers. But you know, if we don't have that trust between the people, the citizens who are paying the taxes, and the state, and for us in ARS, the administrator that's collecting the taxes, then we have a big problem. So what we're trying to do in ARS is to try as much as possible to rebuild that trust. And it's not just ARS, but also the government of the day. Because what are taxes for? Taxes are used to build social amenities, infrastructure that affects the lives of people. And not just of the people today, but our generations yet unborn. So if we have that at the back of our minds, and we say, what can we do to build this trust such that people do not see taxes and levies as something that is obligatory just from a legal standpoint. However, as a civic partnership where you pay your taxes and it's for the common good, then clearly we will have solved, you know, over half of the problems that we have. In Anambra State, for instance, I'll give you some numbers so you can understand what I'm saying. I think the population of Anambra State is somewhere slightly above 7 million people. If you bring that down to the number of people who have NIN registrations and voters cards or voters registration, we're somewhere around 2.7 million people. However, the citizens who are actively paying their taxes, because as you know, for the Internal Revenue Service, we are responsible for the administration of taxes for individuals and business names, while the Nigerian Revenue Service is responsible for companies and VAT, etc. So the numbers I've given you represent what you could say the adult population. Yeah, you can say plus or minus for the elderly and the people who have NINs that are still not up to 18. So, but just keep that as a number. Now, in Anambra State, the number of people who are registered for taxes as individuals is about 450,000. So you see where we're coming from. Population 7.5, NIN, NIN voters cards 2.7, 500,000 registered for taxes. Now, if you take a census of the people within this 450,000 who have paid any form of tax or levy in the past 18 to 24 months, we have about 50,000 people. So you can see clearly that the number of people who are paying their taxes in Anambra State is nowhere near the population or the potential of people who should be. Meanwhile, the tax laws have been there. There are new tax laws that have come into force from 2025. There are ones that were there prior. The tax rates are there. And yet we still have this low level of compliance. So that's what I mean by saying that is that trust deficit that you can argue that perhaps developed over the years that we need to bridge. Once we bridge the taxes, we have a higher percentage of compliance, voluntary compliance, then you see the IGR will go up. So what are we doing in ARS? So what we're trying to do is to make tax payment easier, introducing technology, we're using data analysis, etc., to find out who's supposed to be paying that's not paying. So that we're using moral suasion to say, you know, you have to pay your taxes. But like every tax administrator, we also then have to be very strict on our compliance. So we are going to ensure that people comply, hopefully voluntarily, but if not voluntarily, then enforcement comes. And I believe that as the government of the day is setting the foundation, if you like, for the next 70 years. I think this SSG in her speech talked about the Anambra 2070 vision. So there are certain projects that will affect our lives, that will affect our lives of our children yet unborn, that the government of the day is putting in place. There are also certain projects that are going on now that affect our lives as of today. And those projects are very easy to see. So you can see that this is where your taxes are going to. Can you imagine a situation where people are not paying their taxes and the allocation that comes from federal government, from the federally collected taxes dry up? What are we going to do? schools, healthcare systems, roads, what kind of society will we have? So I think in everywhere I go to, everywhere the ARS goes to, what we're preaching, and everywhere the government goes to, is to please let people pay their taxes. The taxes are being put to good use. So once that trust deficit begins to dwindle, begins to come closer, then you see that the IGR will move in exponential levels. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned the lack of trust between the people and the government. You mentioned a trust deficit. Now, would you say that the foundation or the reason of that trust deficit is because of the refusal of the government to provide those social amenities for the people? I mean, people already pay for their water, electricity, security, healthcare. Now, should the people have a trust or have any trust where they are forced to pay taxes, but the benefit of those taxes does not inure to them?
Okay, so I think where I'll start from is to say, you say forced to pay taxes, right? People shouldn't be forced to pay taxes because it's their civic responsibility. That's one. Two, I mentioned something about perhaps a deficit that has built over the years. So, does the deficit remove your civic responsibility? No, it doesn't. Is there a moral burden on government to deliver? Yes, there is. So, the truth is, this trust deficit has grown over the years. However, you could argue that in the past couple of years, you can see in the current government, for instance, in Anambra State, you can see certain things that are being done. And even if you look at the plans that the government has in the next couple of years, you could also see that what the plans that the government has is already communicated to the people to say, Anambra, we want to be a what? A smart, livable city. And all the different pillars on which that stands are known. So, in a trust relationship, what do you do? Somebody has said, oh, this is what we are going to do. And they said, for us to do this, this is what we need you to do in terms of your responsibility. And then after you do that, you then hold the government accountable. But when you don't know your Bill of Rights as taxpayers, then you don't even know what to hold your government accountable for. So it's important that taxpayers also understand the promises that the government has given and hold the government accountable. Because if you say you're not going to do it, then those promises can never happen. And then what future do we then hold? So that's the way I'd like to frame that.
So you're saying that the people should trust the government that is working to address that breach of trust
and hold the government accountable.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Is it hold accountable as in if I don't deliver? What was that famous saying again? If I don't deliver electricity, don't put me again. Anyway, thank you very much, sir. Uh, Dr. Kapsulibe, this is for you, sir. Now, sir, Hadley Gray Group operates at the intersection of strategy, innovation, and enterprise development. Now, could you please enlighten us on what is the most common leadership failure you diagnosed in Nigeria, in Nigerian organizations, and whether private, public, or even government, and how do you think those problems those failures should be addressed?
Thank you very much. The biggest failure in the institutions in Nigeria, and I mean both private and public, the biggest failure is, in my opinion, the lack of institutionalization of processes and procedures. That is my opinion. So, what I mean is that we have built institutions in the country around people I describe as supermen, right? So they rise, they shine for a brief moment, their lifetime, for instance, and when they are gone, the institutions collapse because there were no structures. So, how does the procurement unit in the company work? How Oga said. How does sales work? Oga knows. How is budgeting done? How much should we allot to ABC? Oga knows. How do you hire people? Who should be hired? MD must be involved. And so, what happens there? This breeds three types of problems. Number one, like I said, and I started with, is that when this Superman leaves the scene, either they become very ill or they die, as the case may be, because everybody's going to die. Those institutions that have not become independent of the Superman, they collapse. That's number one. Number two is when you have people, you have an organization where one person is expending a lot of energy in all departments. What happens is that that person typically will burn out. In my beginning years in business, I have the same issue. And the result is I currently live with high blood pressure and ulcer because every single aspect of the business I wanted to be involved. And so I'm sleeping at night and I'm thinking about what I could have missed because I did not think that there were other people in the organization that could present ideas. Sorry, can I have your attention? I know I will try to be brief. Okay, so I did not think that I was too afraid to fail to delegate the things about delegation until I remember I invited my dear friend Ikazo 2000 and I think it was 18, and he came to the organization and he spoke about the big, hairy, audacious goal. And he described the vision, first of all, and the visioner. But then there was also the other people who had to plug in and support the vision. Otherwise, it will remain in its infancy. Two heads are better than one, certainly. 10 heads are better than one. And so the biggest challenge that I think that institutions face in the country is that the leadership is unable to do two things. One, build processes and then entrust the execution of these processes to people. So, and one of the things that causes that is the fear of failure, right? You feel you're going to do it the best. But in my later years in business, I've realized that delegation and even allowing some measure of failure is a training you're providing to the next generation, to your crop of leaders. So, so in my organization and in my practice, I believe that experience trumps certification. And so I tell myself that rather than send, because we can't afford it otherwise, rather than send somebody to Wharton Business School, let them fail until they, and make sure they are first of all intelligent enough, but then as they are failing, they're understanding why they failed, they are seeing the consequences of the failure, and then they are better equipped not to repeat the same failure. Because you see, what drives you as a leader is that you have failed, you have seen the consequences of the failure, and you are now better equipped not to make the same mistakes. And so you should be able to give that benefit to the people who you are working with. But also important is that you are building structure. So when we want to do procurement, you want to say the processes are A, you get a list of accredited vendors, vendors who understand and support the level of business you want to do. And every time you want to buy, you want to get prices from 3 to 5 of those vendors and buy from the list. This process should be able to operate whether you are on vacation, whether you are sleeping, or the process should be able to operate independent of you. what is the process for recruitment? You throw a big dragnet, and we begin to shortlist based on this definite outline of criterion. And so when your HR is hired, you just give them the process. This is the recruitment procedure. This is the procedure for advancement in the company. So it's not a Superman doing everything. Each person is equipped to follow those laid down processes, and the company can then advance on all fronts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, in essence, you're saying we should learn to move away from the one-man business model and learn to trust, delegate, and build a competent team.
More or less, yes.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Nnamdi, as a young professional, you've achieved so much success. Now, in Nigeria today, probably in Anambra State as well, a lot of business owners, particularly young business owners, are lamenting at the difficulty and cost of doing business. What would you say is responsible for that perception, and how is it addressed?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Um, Cost of doing business, of course, it's not peculiar to Anambra State. It's actually a major problem in Nigeria. But maybe if we start off by breaking it down, we can understand what the components of this cost are. First of all, I know that. Can you hear me? Yeah, funding. Let me start with that. Funding is a major concern, and we all feel you, right? For businesses who want to scale and expand, they need to seek some external funding. But of course, before you go into that, that would be require the maturity of the business to be able, and also the structuring of the business to be able to repay. But in Anambra State, I'll speak for Anambra State. We have tried to provide some support to businesses operating in Anambra State. Anambra State government has ASBA, Anambra State Small Business Agency. That agency, it has outlived this current administration, and they currently provide for external funding to businesses. I think the last offer I signed was about 13%, and that was in 2025. No, 2026, early 2026. And if you compare it to over 30% that is currently given in commercial banks are currently offering, especially for small businesses. I can say that that is a development focused funding. So if you're running a business here, I kind of think that this is something Anambra State government has done to enable your businesses in Anambra State. However, I also want to use this platform to also admonish Anambra, right? And that's around how we run businesses. I think I like the conversation around how do we separate businesses from our personal life from our businesses. First is that and I'll use this as an instance. I think when I came in 2022, there was this World Bank intervention that had to do with COVID intervention that had to repay. In fact, if you borrowed, the federal government intervention that came to the state. If you borrowed during the COVID period, the federal government will offset the loan. We had a target of some billions to offset, but unfortunately, we couldn't. Anambra State, we couldn't even do one quarter of the intervention because most of the businesses that qualify, most of them are Mr. and Mrs. This person. Most companies are not registered. They were just because, of course, they had criteria for this for the loan to offset of the loan. So I think what I would admonish today is that we need to start right, and that's actually incorporate your company, develop your separate your companies from your businesses, because I know right now a lot of funding, nobody will want to fund your personal business, your personal activities. So you need to be able to separate yourself from your business. So I'm just speaking because this has become a major concern in Anambra State. Of course, we are actually every day looking for how to admonish and also to get people to actually incorporate their businesses, no matter how small it is. You never know when the opportunity comes, and it won't tell you when it's coming. It might just be as little as you coming to discuss something with somebody about what you do, and the person just says, okay, how do I fund it? And another point I need to mention is how much of our assets do we utilize? Someone like Asba, in as much as Asba has funding, Asba will give you money for free, because what we do is on lending. But of course, because there's a state counterpart funding, reduces the cost of funding, right? There's a state that is almost at zero interest. Even if it comes from development agency, there are some level of funding. Asba will want a collateral. We have a lot of dead assets in Anambra State. People have land that they can't use. People have, so you need money, but you have land. So what happened with titling the land and using that as a collateral for loan to scale your business? So currently in Anambra State, what we've done is that we have digitized Anambra State land, Anambra State Ministry of Land. We have Anamgis. Anamgis is a geographic information system that kind of has scoped Anambra State. And of course, you can, as for private CFOs, you can get it in 1-2 weeks. So if you have land, instead of leaving it as dead asset and of struggling with your business, you can actually use your land as a collateral to be able to get almost I'm not saying single digit because 30% has crossed, but at this point, a very minimal cost funding to be able to grow your business. That's what Anambra State is doing. I know the major concern again for businesses, I'm looking at what are the components of this, is around power. Power, of course, for those who do into proper manufacturing, this has been a menace. I know that I've been in subsequent conversations around power, but let me put that we haven't. This is one of the major focus of the government. I've been in multiple conversations of investors who are coming to provide independent power facility in Anambra State. So it's some focus of the government that in the near this year, in fact, I have a proposal on the table. In this year, next year, we should have made significant progress in that line. And then let me just drop at this. I think people, how do we get the right people we need, especially if you are running businesses? Because it's not, in Anambra particularly, I know that this is a major concern because everybody thinks an entrepreneur. So if you are running a business, even for you to get someone who will work for you is usually a challenge. And I say this because this is what we deal with every day. The mindset of the professional mindset, the mindset of uh, let me leave it at professional. But of course, I know that is a major concern, especially in this side of the country. It's something that we are careful about. And what we have done one is, of course, what we are trying to do now is actually to upskill our people to actually give them that leverage that they require to be able to compete globally. That we are doing with. We are currently running the innovation, Anambra State Innovation District and Innovation Solution Investment Innovation Solution Innovation District is the platform. But what we do is to train people, not just for you to in digital skill, but also to make you marketable or actually to equip you with the global trends of what is currently obtainable. So what we this is what Anambra so is actually around our upskilling people because there's no particular exam or opportunity that will come specific to people in Anambra State apart from what is in Anambra. But Anambra, our target is to get Anambra people to be able to compete and be able to thrive globally. So that is another platform that the state is currently putting together to ensure that people in Anambra State provide the requisite or have the requisite skill to be able to provide the globally acceptable services in Anambra and also from Anambra to anywhere in the world. That's what we have put together. But I can say that for businesses, um, it's not peculiar to Anambra State, but these are the things Anambra State is doing specifically to just ensure and improve ease of doing business. But just to also mention, we currently have an ease of doing business council. So it's a council that I chair, and in fact, last week we actually had a session where business owners came together it's more like a dialogue session. In the council, we have chairman of man who sits in that council. So of course, telling us while we come up from our own perspective, there's someone who is doing business in the council who is supposed to tell us business perspective. What are the people saying? We have a representative of Chamber of Commerce as a member of the council, where we sit periodically to actually brainstorm about these are the reforms that we're coming up with in Anambra State. How will they fare in the market, and also around communication. I know the chairman of ARS has also spoken. That's also adding to how we improve ease of doing business. We have quite a lot of things we're doing. It's been on for a while, but when the governor builds and the last count, we did over 8,000 kilometers of road and it's still counting. That's actually trying to improve connectivity within Anambra State so that if you are, especially I know that the major instance where people who live in Obo family who say that they are significantly an agricultural community, but before now when they produce, they take it, I think they cross the river to a Benue state, Benue Kogi state, so that's where they sell. But since the road construction, they can now come to market and be able to sell their produce for more value. So these are like things we are thinking of. We are thinking of catalytic things to do. Definitely, we're not going to run businesses, but these are some enablers the government has put in place to ensure that businesses in Anambra State not just succeeds but also thrives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, my last question is for all the panelists, please. There has been a major shift in this digital age towards artificial intelligence, and businesses are restructured in that direction. What advice would you give professionals today, both young and old professionals, that would give them an edge in combining their skills with the use of artificial intelligence?
Should I start? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I love technology so much, but let me also come this way. So, the artificial is an exciting thing. Of course, it has made our work a lot easier. I know a lot of people, but I'm also saying, because of how I grew up, I'm also going to step back. For people who I want to talk to, I tell you, first of all, think it through first before you bring artificial intelligence, because it kind of has a way of getting your brain. I would advise, and this is my advice to young people, is that yes, artificial intelligence has come to stay, but let's see how to ensure that it doesn't take over our own kind of ability to think. Because I see some young people, you just tell them to do something. I had someone I asked something to do something last week. This is something I expect should have taken 1 hour at least. In like 5 minutes, I have a response. And if I read through it, I couldn't use anything because the person didn't apply himself in understanding what is required. Of course, AI just rule this out, But I would usually say it's interesting technology. I am quite up for it. But I would work with, first of all, I look at technology as an enabler and enhancer of what we have done, because we can never take out the human element from it, right? So I know you can train your artificial intelligence to think like you, but what I would say is that while at it, let's also apply our human capacity, because really human intelligence into the whole conversation. But about what it has done for us, it is something that is changing the dynamics of how everything works. So you have information on the go. You can actually do everything you want to and just get support with what you need. But what I tell people is that yes, there is technology, but human will continue to remain relevant. And the only woman that will continue is someone who continues to layer on his own knowledge, just so that, because if you're going to give me something I can give myself through AI, then I don't have any use for you. So if the only way you can remain relevant with me is that, okay, yes, there is AI, but then I bring in the human part, because there are situational conversations there are. So that's how humans will continue to thrive even in technology, in this technology. I would say that this is a very fantastic, in fact, a very creative innovation that has come to stay. And I believe that over the year, in the next few years, I think they haven't even, it has, in fact, it's still scratching the surface of what is possible. The work is enhanced, everything is, but of course, if we human beings need to remain relevant, we need to see how to continue to bring that, so we don't also sell out our human intelligence in the whole space of that. So that's how to remain relevant in this time of AI. Thank you.
Okay, just to add to it, I think we share the same views on AI. I think that AI is an enabler that will help us to do things quicker. However, it's not a replacement for what I want to refer to as deep thinking. I believe in deep thinking. You know, when you have a problem, you think deeply about it. It's not everything that AI knows about you or your current situation, etc. So there's certain solutions that AI may give you that are a bit generic and doesn't really speak as deeply as you want that problem to be solved. However, when you're doing deep thinking and then you need to do research to find out things, then you can use AI to help you get that research in terms of getting data a bit quicker. However, the analysis of it, the presentation of it should still have to be the human brain doing it. Because, you know, one thing I say about knowledge is that information, knowledge, etc., gives you confidence when you speak. So can you imagine, like the SNG is saying, somebody was given an assignment and they did it in 5 minutes because they asked AI. And then they were now supposed to come to a forum and come and present it and answer questions. What are they going to say? You know, so clearly the use of AI, you need to be very careful about it. I can understand that it can be very addictive. And then when it's addictive, most times you then lose your ability to deep think. And as human beings, if we don't deep think, how are we going to innovate? Right? So for me, use AI, embrace it. It's still the beginning, there's more to come. However, be very, very careful with it. Thanks.
I went to school when people were told to not use calculators for mathematics. And I thought that we were preparing for maybe an apocalyptic period when there'll be no calculators. You know, I thought that we were preparing for a time when, you know, you get somewhere there's no calculator, but we have seen that not only has the calculator come to stay, but it has evolved that we carry it everywhere we go. So it is here to stay. And so I feel that we wasted time memorizing log 2, log 4, tan theta, and so on and so forth. I don't think that we did ourselves a lot of good memorizing all of that. And in my children's school, thankfully, they do not ask them to memorize certain figures because calculators are here to stay. And that is the same way I feel about artificial intelligence. I feel that if you are doing any work in any modern space right now and you have not figured out how to improve on the work that you're doing using any of the available AI tools, I think you are underperforming. Because you see, performance is measured by what is possible, you know, compared to what you are delivering. So if you're delivering only what is available to you in the time that is possible with your own abilities, but there is possibility for you to deliver faster and more efficiently, and you're not doing that, you are inhibiting yourself and you are depriving your company of your best. So I agree with Ikazo that you must apply your brain. AI is not telling you not to think, because even while using AI, you are going to give it a framework. I can tell you, let me give you an example. If I tell AI red curtains are very, very bad. The first word that will come out is, yes, red curtains are bad. Then it will tell you the reasons why red curtains are bad. So you are going to give the intellectual framework, but let AI flesh it out for you. Don't waste time looking for examples, going to Wikipedia. AI is able to, as long as it's connected to the internet, get those examples and get those illustrations for you from different parts of the internet at the split second. But you provide the framework. So I urge everybody to go and learn AI skills. And this is the same thing in accounting as well, and in computer-aided designs for architecture and so on and so forth. So if you want to be efficient in 2026, you must be helped by AI. Thank you very much.
So in other words, work smart, but don't work lazy. AI is not the solution. It helps you find the solution, but you have to have an input as well. Thank you very much. Could we take questions from the audience now? Does anyone have any questions? Any question? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists. My name is Dr. Bob Kingsley. I'm from Niger Delta University in Bayelsa State. I have a few questions for the panelists. First, as we speak about institutional inefficiency, as you may be aware, there's a review in the CAMA, the Companies and Allied Matters Act, where a single director could own a company. And as we think about the general problems within an organization, whether private or public, funding, management, legal framework, and the systems, it is obvious and it's difficult to see in an intellectual community like this to address the issue of continuity that is establishing the fact that the business is a going concern, where the legal framework is reducing the ownership because the bulk of the decision-making process and the structure of the business rests upon that responsibility vested in the owner. So I want the panelists to address the issue. That is the dilemma. It doesn't correspond. That we are trying to make businesses separate from their owner, and we are reviewing the thing that gives effect to the business. You are making 7 directors one, so I could take all the decisions and all of that. So I want the panelists to reconcile this dilemma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before, I have your permission to jump in before you. You see, the provision of the CAMA that now makes it possible for a company to have one director was to facilitate the ease of doing business and to enable ease of registration. Now, if you have listened to the panelists, they have said, as a because the director, yes, you're meant to take decisions on behalf of the company, but you don't do everything. You learn to delegate. You build an effective team. Being an effective team does not detract or minus from your being a director. It just means you surround yourself with people who are able to help you run the company efficiently. So I don't know if that answers your question, but they have what to add.
Okay, so I believe that your comment was from what I've been spoken about before about separating yourself from the business. Correct? Am I correct?
Okay. Thank you. I laid a framework for my question. I explained that businesses revolve around funding, management, the legal framework, and the systems, because we have advocated that processes should be instituted. The concern is this, that businesses do not stay beyond the persons around which the business revolves. And I am saying that there is a further problem from the perspective of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. If we understand the position of the director and his place in decision making with regards to funding, sourcing of funds. In fact, let me be very practical with Nigerian scenario. Uh, I am the director of Yao Allied Services Limited in Port Harcourt. I'm a director in that business. We understand the rigor of raising capital, equity for our business. Speaking from the pecking orders theory, you understand that equity is the most expensive in that equation. If the director goes through the rigor of raising, in the Nigerian context, goes through the rigor of raising capital, funding the business, and doing everything for the business, and the legal framework empowers him to be a sole director, he takes decision how does the business get managed into an efficient business that can go beyond the director, because obviously sentiment cannot, of course the business should be a going concern, but sentiment in this context cannot be exonerated, because the legal framework that gives effect to the ownership of the business is already empowering me to do everything in the business, such that hiring of employees, doing whatever in the business rests within my purview. So, sir, I want you to reconcile this dilemma, because it's a problem across the Nigerian scene. Thank you.
Sorry, before Mr. Ika has a comment, just to clarify a confusion on your part. The KAMA has not mandated only sole directorship. KAMA has said, in addition to having other directors, you can also operate with one director. Like that's for the ease of doing business and for ease of registration. Because previously, from experience, we found that the legal framework had to be changed because companies, before they could register, had to be operated with just two directors. And you know how Nigerians are, it's difficult to find someone you can trust. But what the camera is not saying is you can get registered while you are still searching for those people you can trust. Eventually, you can add to the directors and you can build the team you want to build.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing about this, the kind of business that you describe uh, would appear to me as a small business. So you know that there are different stages of a business. So when we're talking about sustainability and growth and being able to transfer from one generation to another, if the business you describe continues to be in that frame, that business can grow. Yeah? And then I don't think there's any legal framework that says that you must continue that way. You may start that way, but you also have to have the strategy to say, at what point, you know, like when you start a new business, you're bootstrapping, you're getting money from friends, family, etc., etc. Yeah? You can start that way. However, you need to give yourself a time frame to say, at what point do I start to move away from this? Because as the business grows, your revenue grows, you won't find out that you can't even do all that yourself because there are only 24 hours in a day. So naturally, for your business to grow more than where it is, you must begin to separate the different roles, begin to involve more people, staff, and as you do that, you have to have processes, just like Nnamdi was saying. As it gets bigger, then you find that you can't even run it on yourself. So when you say dilemma, I'm not quite sure what that dilemma is. If you are really running that business yourself, you will know that you can't do it alone. I don't know whether that answers the question.
Question, absolutely. I accept that position. But let me just clarify the issue of the dilemma I spoke about. There is a legal context and there is a Nigerian reality. It is a reconciliation of the legal context. Well, the objective, just like my colleague mentioned, was to ensure business efficiency. But there is a Nigerian reality which we are trying to address in this. Okay.
At the risk of cutting you short, I think the best bet would be to get any other question that has not responded to and talk to it after this. Let's see if we can take more questions. Any other question? If there is none, we'll round off this session. Thank you very much. Please, let's identify the person.
accounting, I'm actually a trauma miracle if I'm a student of accounting. Of AI implementation in organizations now. How can an upcoming accountant survive in the industry? Because with the look of things, a lot of organizations are laying off employees nowadays due to AI. How can an upcoming accountant survive in organization for now?
Okay, I think that across the panel here we have different thoughts, right? So, but let me just start. You know, I'm an accountant. The person that asked the question is not listening. Okay, so I'm an accountant like you. I studied accounting, and I started my career in PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, in the early 2000s. I had a senior partner then, and what is said to us is, I'm not training you to be an accountant. An accountant is debit, credit, IFRS standards, etc., right? He said, I'm training you to be a business person. Okay, so essentially, even though you're studying accounting, have a mindset of being a business person. Okay, so essentially, if there's any part of your work that you think that AI has taken over, right? Make sure that as you start your career, that is not the only thing you know. So if you're a business person, that means that you can do anything. And for you to do anything around the business space, you have to be like a sponge. You know what a sponge does? A sponge absorbs. So if you have the, it absorbs. So essentially, you absorb knowledge. But being an accountant, it gives you an additional advantage because you see the numbers. You know, the numbers don't just come on their own. They come from processes. They come from businesses. Yeah. So you need to understand the business end to end. And what it means, if you're trying to understand the numbers better, that means that you understand the business end to end. So if they call upon you to do some other role or a combination of roles, you probably actually are the best. You're the best person to do that role. So that's why you find out that most CFOs in the world end up becoming very good CEOs. Okay, so there are areas in the profession that AI can take over, but there's some that it can never take over. So broaden your horizon, become a business person. That's what I'll say.
Okay, one more advice. So, I have a friend who studied architecture. And you know, architecture is a very rigorous pursuit. You also spend a long time in university. You do the first 4 years, and you do the second 4 years. And after he was done, you know, we went to school in the 90s. So after he was done, there was this thing called AutoCAD, computer aided design. And so there were two things that he could do. He could continue to fight to use the pencil and the protractor and so on and so forth, or he could upgrade himself. So what you need to do now is to go and prepare yourself to be competitive. Nigeria has 220 million people. Nobody's going to hire you because they like you or not hire you because they don't like you. They're going to hire you because you are an asset. So go, instead of buying a new phone, right? Keep your old phone a little longer. Buy learning materials to find out how to inculcate your AI into your accounting and be the best at what you do. There's no miracle. I won't hire you because you're from my village. That will destroy my business. But you come and you say, I can use AI tools to do better work than ordinary Microsoft Excel. That interview will jump from the HR to my desk immediately, to the MD's desk, because this person has already shown themselves to be an asset. We'll now be wondering, how much more should we pay this modern accountant? So whatever phone you're delaying yourself from buying now, or whatever pleasure you're depriving yourself from now to go and get, the skills, do it and don't, you will not regret it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have two more questions. We'll take them together so that the panelists can talk to them at the same time. Him?
So just before we take questions, we have to what to say. If that new phone helps you do the work and do the learning, please buy the phone. Please buy the phone. If it helps you do your work more effectively and learn more effectively, buy the phone.
I don't want to overflog it. I think it's been the longest time that we have to say AI technology is taking over accounting profession. It's not AI is just new, right? I know that has been on forever, but it hasn't still quite taken it over. But I will tell you that it's debit and credit. We get to real world. Debit and I don't even know if people still do debit and credit these days. So the accounting is way beyond debit and credit. It's a whole lot of mental thinking, decision making, business. Of course, for you to be able to be a CFO or be able to be a good accountant, you must think beyond debit and credit. You must understand the business in its entirety and be able to come down to some very intelligent decision making around the company. So I'm not sure it's something AI can do. AI cannot do that part. So finance, of course, I usually say accounting is one of the best professions. I say this without any reservation. And I say this because I have had quite exciting experiences. When they finished all the English, everybody's asking you what's the naira and kobo, right? And that's where an accountant's skills come to bear. So for all the conversations, you can speak English from morning to night, and that's the same in public and private setting. When we finish, come down to Naira and Kobo. That's where the whole everything lies. And if you're an accountant, that's where you come alive, right? Because you understand numbers. So I kind of think that you need to actually, I call it, I tell anybody, if you finish and you don't understand numbers, you're hanging somewhere. And that's where the strength of an accountant is. You are relevant in every conversation. You just know how to apply yourself. And just accounting is way beyond debit and credit. In fact, I don't. I've never been a debit and credit person, but I'm a sound accountant. I can tell you that. Thank you.
After today's session, I'll engage the accountants in legal discussions. So that going back to the legal discussion, I'll engage in legal discussions. Now we have two more questions.
Yeah. Good day, everybody. Thank you, the panelists. I'm Mr. David Collins. My question is that goes to the essence. Is there the provision in the ASPA for fresh graduates to have access to loan without collateral, seeing that some of them may not actually have any collateral?
Okay, thank you for that question.
So, good afternoon. My name is Nnamdi. I'm from the Alabama Engineering Fantastic section. I think the section I'm head of any commencement speech at Harvard, Stanford, and all of the schools. But in the course of this section, I was wanting to hear a term, volunteering. I'm actually an alumnus of this school, but my first work incidentally after returning from the UK was as a volunteer. I volunteered online as a research person for UN online military research, and that was how I actually started my career in research. And because this is a student environment, and of course, work will not definitely go around to everyone. I think it would be good to begin to talk about that volunteering and young people looking at such opportunities to build themselves in line with legacy and impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the second one is not a question, it's a comment. I hope the students heard it. Most of the time, it's not about the money; it's about the experience. And I'll say it eventually pays off. And I'll say it pays off eventually. So on the question of ASBA is a lending institution. It's an on-lending institution. That means someone would have given ASBA money to lend. So what we do is, of course, is the cheapest loan you can get anywhere. We try to make it as as the cheapest actually, the cheapest you can get. It used to be single digits. Yeah, it used to be single digits. We currently took it as, and the credibility of ASBA for it to unlend, if I think it's currently unlending for BOI, is actually the reputation it has for collection, right? Collection. So if he has those reputation, that means it was built over the years. I don't know what to be, or why would I not want to give you money and not give the next person? Is it trust? I understand the need for you to start off, but I know that he started something on. I know that there was something they started earlier, which is having a cooperative. It's easier for ASBA to lend to a cooperative than to lend to an individual. So if you don't have a lot of assets, you can actually organize a cooperative, and that will help them because that will reduce their risk exposure. You might be willing to say, oh, if you give to me, I'll pay back. There's a next person that might not be on the same page with you. So to ensure that they have the money back to be able to lend to the next person, that's how they've been able to sustain over the years. They have quite strong reputation for that. So I would say that ASBA will hardly lend to an individual without a collateral, but yeah, I think he can try to work with the cooperative to ensure that their risk is minimized. I think that is.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of today's session, and we have almost come to the end of today's proceedings. I would like to say thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. The show of love in this room and the attention to detail and the soaking of knowledge. It's amazing. So I'd like to say thank you very much once again, and I'd like to call upon Mr. Peters to coordinate the presentation of the awards to our panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, It's been nice having you moderate this session. And this panel has given impetus to the sub-theme on governance, public leadership, and legacy. And that is how it caps the entire theme for today's event, which is From Vision to Legacy, Inspiring Africa's Next Generation of Responsible Business Leaders. Thankfully, we had a fantastic audience. They were quite participatory, asking questions and interrogating the issues at stake. Again, I want to join Dr. Awka for San to thank SSG, thank Mr. Nenzo, Ikazo, I should say, and then thank our friend Dr. Ben. At this point, I'd like to please don't exit the stage yet so that we can make presentations to you immediately. Let me very quickly invite Professor Siwa Wodo to please step forward and make presentation to Mr. Ikazo.
How to sing along honor and pleasure on behalf of the unbeatable Super A department, the Department of Accountancy, that is leading in legacy and empowerment, training and empowering people. Mr. Kako, I have the singular pleasure, and I thank God that I am the one presenting this to you, because you deserve it. And so I'm saying, on behalf of the Department of Accountancy, Azikiwe University, the university of the moment, we sincerely and deeply appreciate you, and we are giving this award
To you, Mr. Ikazo Okonkwo, on this day, 16th day of June 2026, in recognition of your role as an esteemed panelist at the 2026 International Conference Symposium this day, and may God bless you as you receive this.
Invite the Director of UNIZIK Business Group, Professor Azikiwe, to please step forward and make the next round of presentation, and that's be going to Mrs. Chiamaka Nnake, the Secretary to Government of Anambra State.
Having come from the mouth of the learned seer. Now, one and a half and make it that's why I call them Awka. The people that followed us case study to Egypt, the new women that came with their husband, they are called them grand commanders. They change dress, yes. So I'm not surprised because this is Chiamaka. And the benefits around her. So that's why she's now occupying the office. Seriously speaking, she is not. And that is what she is. She's the big piece of what Anambra State government stands for. She's been here. The only thing that baffled me about her is her event. She may not remember. One time when I was coming back, I was sitting by her side. Why we decided to come back. I didn't know her from Adam. I know she was the one actually. I was sitting on television. We were talking till we got to the airport. I said, she gave the card, I saw it, my mouth closed permanently. So, and last time we did it was, she didn't shift till we finished. And I think if there is anything about her, the younger ones should be looking up to. If a lady here, a student, and they are not aspiring to be like her, then something is wrong with you. Oh yes. So when I saw her taking the interview, I just happened to look behind. I saw the way she was taking the interview. I was actually learning. The way she was taking questions for journalists. Taking pens, he's a teacher, and we will not let her go until she blesses us here. She will be part of UNIZIK Business School. Yes. So it's my pleasure and honor to make this presentation. This is a work in recognition of your role as a panelist. Not just a panelist, because she's wearing two, is it hat or cap? I don't know if I'm going to wear what they call it. Hat. So one of our special guests and the panelists. So congratulations.
Let me invite the friends to please step forward. Dr. Ben Emasoba.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is another classmate of mine. You know, I've had multiple classmates today, so this is another classmate. And if our students have anything to take home today, I think if you have that network, you keep it. Okay? If you have that network, try and grow that network and never put that ladder down. Because at some point, you will need it. Everybody that we've been able to bring today, is a testament to that. So on behalf of the Department of Accountancy, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, this appreciation award is presented to Dr. Kansuni Bebe Asoba in appreciation of your participation as a panelist at the 2026 International Conference Symposium of this day, 17th June 2026. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I respectfully invite Professor Ziman Naboife, former council member, former dean, former director of UNIZIK Business School, to please step forward and make this presentation to the moderator of the panel sessions, Dr. Chenye Okafor, SAN.
I have the honor to make this presentation to no lawyers think that they are the only lawyers. And sometimes it's like they are putting others down. But I respect them. And I have listened to the moderation, and I will say that something that is given on merit. He is so versatile in knowledge, commanding every aspect of the conversation. So I have the singular honor to make this presentation to you, Dr. Chenye Okafor, sir. Of your excellent contribution as a moderator at the 2026 International Conference Symposium. Your outstanding coordination ensured a successful and engaging discussions. So,
Thank you very much. Thank you. Before the vote of thanks, because we are gradually, steadily coming to the close of this session, this event, I want to, in a very special way, recognize my PhD supervisor. He just stepped into this room. Please, join me with one applause to welcome Professor Nnamdi. And I invite the chair of the host organizing committee to please, in 60 seconds, thank all of us for being part of this event. Chair.
On behalf of the Department of Accountancy, we humbly appreciate all the dignitaries here, the professors, the lecturers, and the students. We have gathered here to discuss from vision to legacy. I thank the moderator, Dr. Chenye Okafor, for doing justice to the panelists that gathered here to discuss this. Again, on behalf of the department, I thank each of us that have stayed here all through to the end of this program. Thank you once more.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a stay here? Please.
Mr. Carlo Peters, the compare and the MC for today. Can we get a round of applause for him, please? It was almost a case of a prophet because of his own time. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Please, we still have a Reverend Canon Dr. Tochukwu Akebobi in the room. All right, sister said opening prayer. And from the theory propounded today by Sam about the woman being the goddess of the land, sister said the opening prayer. Let her also say the closing prayer. Please, let me invite Sister Patricia Oronefo to please close us with prayer. And after that, UNIZIK anthem will play. Please, can we rise for the closing prayer?
Father, we thank you for your blessings, grace, to see us through from morning till this hour. We thank you for your divine assistance, to see that all we came here to do, we are all success. Father, may your holy name be blessed now and forever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
UNIZIK anthem.
Thank you.